A woman made a short post in the 2X chromosome subreddit, but it goes perfectly with what we talk about in our spaces here. She says the modern dating disconnect exists because men want a relationship their fathers and grandfathers had, and women absolutely don't want a relationship their mothers and grandmothers had. She says, I heard this phrase somewhere on TikTok, and I think it just perfectly explains the current gender dynamics. That's the reason why you hear men lamenting times of past where everybody just stuck together. And you'll hear the women say it was our grannies, our aunties, our mamas that told us to make sure that we got our education and got our career together. It's like people, like men and women had two parallel universes. We might be on the same plane, but we lived very different lives. And so that's the reason why our interpretation is very different. And so right now, women are living independently and men don't know how to come through and adapt to the current model. Because women say, we're not going back. We're not going back to that time where we were solely dependent on men, and men are just like submission. Men lead. I strong. Oil rigs. Oil change. Yeah. Men build world. All right, let's look at some of the comments, because yes, I have made plenty of videos that pretty much align with this, but let's look at some of the comments on the post. Joy Fall says, absolutely. One of my grandfathers was well regarded with his church because of his volunteer work. Every year he would have my grandmother cook 30 turkeys for the church fundraiser. They listed his name for thanks, not her who did all of the work. She says, my other grandfather was a successful fisherman with his own crew. Every day, he would bring his crew into the house with their muddy boots for a home-cooked lunch made by my grandmother. She would then gut and clean the fish in her spare time between growing all of the vegetables, making bread, raising chickens, cleaning the house, and caring for their 12 children. Women had to do so much without regard, and the men got the credit and the accolades for the work of the women. That's the reason why you're seeing when women pull back and not do all of that stuff. We're seeing what's happening with these dudes failing and flailing because they actually have to make their lunches by themselves, clean their homes by themselves if it does get clean. They have to do their admin work. They can't just lump all of these things on women because women are saying, no, hard pass. That's it. I'm over this says, that's still what's expected by way too many men. Clean home, food on the table, raise the kids, do all the chores, and also work full time because a single income household these days is a joke. A guy who makes his woman do all that has zero sex appeal, none whatsoever. She's still expected to do all that too and fit sleep in there somewhere. This is what traditional values looks like these days. And she has to stay slim. She has to stay pretty, even though she's not supposed to wear makeup. She's not supposed to be too pretty or anything. So there are so many different boxes that women are supposed to fit into that and you see the reason why women are saying, no, is it really worth it? JoJo's B says, during one of my last conversations with my ex, I laid it out for him that he was expecting me to do the same amount of housework as his stay-at-home mom, all the cleaning plus cooking to his taste, not gain more than 10 pounds over my high school weight nearly 10 years later. Plus, he thought I didn't make enough money, even though I made more than him. I pointed out that if I did all of that, then what did I need him for? What is he bringing to the table to match that energy? Not that it mattered much, but he had gained 40 pounds since high school, so the whining about my weight was especially galling, because if there's one thing that they do have is the nerve. Oh, also the audacity. Terrible Custer says, don't forget he wanted your actual services as well, on tap preferably. It's called the full package wife appliance. Even while being a girlfriend, they expect the full package. They expect to be smacked up, flipped, and rubbed down. Oh no. Helpful Hour says, it's baffling to me that more women aren't applying this logic. Society seems to brainwash us into thinking that any man is better than no man at all. Men buy it because it favors them, but I wish more women would push back on it. And more women are pushing back on it. Women are saying, nah, I'm not doing all of that. And this is one of the reasons why I do think that men are looking to date more than women are. Boston Lily Pad says, this is me, who's happily single in midlife, while I have a few friends who call me crying every few months because of something their husbands did. Love my life. I can travel and spend my time how I like it. Electronic Ad says, he sounds terrible. Telling you not to gain more than 10 pounds over your high school weight is crazy. Men who are raised by stay-at-home moms either want their girlfriend/wife to be exactly like her, or they see that their mom was never happy and they want their girlfriend/wife to be the opposite of her. Gamiac says, basically, men expect so much more goddamn value from women than they could ever provide, and incels wonder why they all go for Chad. Maybe it's because Chad actually recognizes that doing literally all of the work in the household while receiving nothing for it is a sucker's game, and that women also understand that because they're not the effing zombie doormats that incels want. Male loneliness epidemic, my patootie. Maybe if people would effing address the complete robbery of agency that men want to do to women, women would give more of an F about male loneliness. I think that we're past giving a damn. I think that we're on the apathy stage and that men are going to have to figure out this whole loneliness crisis by themselves. Cosmic Shimmer says, and this is why I became a single mother. My workload decreased and I was infinitely less stressed by not having to engage with someone who would actively make things harder. I wanted to get to this part because this person says, what was his response talking to JoJo Bees? She says, he actually looked really surprised, like he never even considered my side before. I also pointed out other things that would make it very difficult for any woman to tolerate being with him long term. He basically had no boundaries with his parents. He was always bending over backwards to accommodate them, and they were overspenders. I'm talking 3 houses, endless shopping sprees for luxury goods, and 5 cars, including a Corvette, purchased in less than 10 years. His mom was a stay-at-home mom, and his dad made about as much as my mom, same company. Maybe a little more, but not enough to spend like that. His mom was the second wife, so my mom told me that his stepdad was likely draining his retirement in addition to his salary to fund all of that. I told my ex, I'm not stupid. His parents clearly expected him, as the only child who would still talk to them, to fund their retirement, and that's why he was on my butt about making even more money. It's like, I'm not going to pay for the mortgage on someone else's third house when I don't even have a first house. Jesus effing Christ. I like to think he became better for the next woman. I'm glad that she was smart enough to pull out, because he wanted her to go to work, make a bunch of money so he could funnel that money over to his family's house. But he also expected all of her energy in the home. These people, they lack logic, even though they build themselves as the most logical leaders. Please make it make sense. Anyways, let me know what you think about this one. Join the conversation. What do you think the dating disconnect is? Or do you even care? You probably don't care. Let me know. Like, comment, and share. I know we have these conversations about men getting in relationships and then expecting a servant keeps cropping up. But it crops up because it literally just keeps happening. This woman has only been with this man for 3 months, and she's already saying that he is a messy partner. At some point, you're going to clock the red flags. You're going to clock it and block them. Clock it and block it is what you have to do. I don't know if this woman is going to leave this man alone, but I use these posts as a cautionary tool, a cautionary tale for the rest of us in having these conversations. Clock it and block it. They start showing their red flags. They start leaving things on purpose for you to clean up. They are expecting you to be their wife appliance, their girlfriend appliance, where you're supposed to just pick up after them. They think that they are a demigod and now you're supposed to serve them. Please leave them alone. But now let's get into her post. She says, messy partner. She's 42 years old and still dealing with this. She says, I've been dating a man in his mid-30s for the last 3 months. He is very sweet and kind, progressive, etc. But he spends 1 to 2 nights at my place, and I've noticed he never picks up after himself. He leaves dishes around, never contributes to the cleaning up after dinner, etc. Yesterday, he made a snack, left the butter and bread sitting on the counter, plate and a dirty napkin on the dining table all day. I made a point of not picking up after him to see if maybe he is just one of those people who need rest and digest food before cleaning up. I'm not a neat freak. I don't need things to be tidied away straight away, although putting food back in the fridge on a hot day would be nice. But I don't want to have to clean up after someone. When we sat down to have dinner later that day, he just scooted the dirty dishes to the side. After dinner, I tidied away the food and dinner plates. The worst thing is that he annoyingly hovers around me while I'm cleaning and putting away stuff into the dishwasher, so he definitely sees me doing all the work. I know I should talk to him about it, but even the act of having to tell a grown man to clean up after himself is so off-putting, like I'm a nagging mother. My sexual interest in him has nosedived in the last month, and I suspect this is one element of that. I think I also feel sensitive about this issue because it's an entanglement of possible incompatibility when it comes to cleanliness mixed with sexism, traditional roles where the woman cleans everything, and maybe also maturity, the age gap. Do I even bother trying to get him to clean up after himself or accept it for what it is, i.e. in things? I said on the post, you're 3 months in, have the convo or end it. This ain't sustainable as it is. You're not going to want him at your place. Like, break up. You're only 3 months into this. Just leave this alone. Because a lot of times what women will do, it'll get like 3 years down the line and they'll just be like, they'll still talk about the sunk cost fallacy. They don't use those words, but they'll be like, I've done this for so long. This woman is 3 months in this. There are no true sustainable foundational feelings. Leave this person alone. He's training her to accept being a servant. She's at her home. He's acting like he is to be served, and that is not a true statement. He needs to get up and get out because he has lost his ever-loving mind, thinking you can treat someone's home that way. Tuxedo Bear says, do you want to be cleaning up or nagging him for the rest of your relationship? If he has reached this age without developing basic skills and consideration, it's unlikely he's going to do a 180 now. And this is him on his best new relationship behavior. This is 3 months in and he's doing this. He should really be on his best behavior. But if this is the best of what it's going to get even worse down the line. Rainbow Bright Glasses says, this is it. This is the take. Lovely. Listen to this and understand what you're signing up for. And like Trish says, it's incredibly rude and disrespectful. I can't imagine treating someone's home that way, regardless of who it is. Romantic relationships, friendships, just some random person. You don't go into someone's home and just leave a mess as you sit there. I couldn't imagine doing something like that. But these people really feel like they are entitled to a servant. Ambitious League says, not very progressive to expect a woman to clean up after you like a toddler, to be honest. And then Polaris says, yeah, at my own house. I admit I'm kind of messy, definitely not as bad as what OP is describing, but I live alone and I'm not being inconsiderate to anyone. If you're living or staying over with another person or other people, then it's a completely different story and it becomes a basic courtesy thing. Tall Ad says, sometimes I read the questions posted here and I wonder how they are questions at all. This is him on his best behavior. You are 3 months in. This is supposed to be the honeymoon phase where everybody is trying to be their best versions of themselves to impress the other person. It will not get better than this. Is this what you want for the rest of your life? The BTY Project says, out of curiosity, what happens at his house? Do you clean up after him there too? I would honestly just mirror his behavior at his house and see if that gives him an aha moment. And she says, I've only been to his place twice and never slept over there. I have pets, so I prefer to be at mine. It looked fine when I was there, not spotless, but not bad either. A New Beginning Now says, if he is progressive, that means he doesn't subscribe to traditional gender roles in which the woman cleans everything. It's worth having a talk about this before you end things, but if you get anything other than an apologetic I had no idea and an enthusiastic pledge to do better, this is a pretty major incompatibility and not something I'd want to deal with for the duration of a relationship. The fact that he hovers over you is more concerning. Until I read that part, I was going to say he might be painfully unaware. I say this as someone who does not read signals or hints well, but I would be mortified if someone pointed this out to me. It is plain common sense to at least bring dishes to the sink and put away butter and bread. I do this when I'm a guest in someone else's house. And here's the OP saying, I feel like the fact that he is ideologically progressive makes it even more disappointing that he basically watches me do the tidying up. We are in the bad place, says, so my boyfriend is left and progressive. We both have ADHD. He gets nervous and overwhelmed when he doesn't know how best to help with cooking. He's dyspraxic, so his skills are basic. In every other area of tidying and cleaning, he's pretty darn proactive. My style is clean up after each meal. His is more clean up once a day, though. And you can gather how someone will clean up. She has been noticing this and getting irritated over the last month. She's either going to call attention to it and, be plain about it, or she's just going to continue along with cleaning up after him. She says the attraction is lessening, so maybe she's at the point of actually doing something about it versus allowing this resentment to build up. Anyways, let me know what you think. Please get some assertiveness behind you. Do not allow a person to just come into your home and be messy and not say anything. Stop allowing this. Stop it. Say something back. Letting a man go who is just going to use you for your time, energy, and resources is not a big loss. Either have the conversation if you want to try to keep something, or let them go. Push them out, actually. Kick them out. Let me know what you think, though. Indescribable over on Threads asks women this question. She says, ladies, be honest. Do y'all really care what men think? And this definitely got some discussions going. Here's my answer. I said, once I stopped worrying about men's opinions, good or bad, my life shifted. Like, some women perform for head pats and validation from men, and then some women are still getting triggered by dudes' insults, and I just cannot find an F to give. And that's the thing. They will use compliments and insults alike to try to get women to behave a certain way. They use compliments, and sometimes they use triangulated compliments to get women to perform, like, ooh, I really like it when you do your hair like that. You do your hair like that, but other women, they wear wigs and weaves. So they'll use compliments to you, but they're still putting down somebody else. And then they'll use insults, obviously, as a way to try to shift behaviors in women. So I don't listen to compliments because I'm not here for any of their validation. And I don't care, because a lot of the times when they are giving compliments, they are simply using that like they want something. If it was a genuine compliment, like, women give other women genuine compliments. They're not looking for relations simply because they give a compliment. Women will be like, I really like that color. I like that lipstick. Your hair looks nice today. Men, when they give compliments, they are thinking that you're about to perform in some kind of way, whatever they're looking for. And like I've already said, they are using insults to trigger us. Maybe they need some engagement. Maybe they want us to shift our behavior to suit their needs and fancies more. But at this particular point, my field of F's is pretty barren. It doesn't grow anymore. So I don't care about their opinions, good or bad, but it takes a little bit of time to get here. So I do know and understand that some women are not there yet, where they don't see any value in their opinions at all. But let me know what you think. Let's look at the rest of these comments though. Uppity Negress says, depends. Can that man affect my money in any way? If no, then no. And she says, if yes, then only while on the clock. We got a man. We have a man that showed up. He says, I care what women think, how they feel, what they experience, and if they are okay. And to that, Indescribable says, wasn't asking you though. And she says, I swear I wasn't being mean. I literally wasn't asking men anything, and yet here are so many of them giving opinions nobody asked them for. And I honestly think that's why so many women don't care what men think, because shut the F up sometimes. Timmy says, Timmy, a man, He says, some of us make a habit out of missing the point. You ask a simple question, we give you an unrelated and unnecessary opinion. Sad. He literally gave an unnecessary and unrelated. No, it is kind of related, but it's unnecessary because it's still a man giving an opinion. Another man. Ladies, let's cut the act. Do you really care what men think or just the men you respect? Because truth is, he's telling us our truth. Women don't care what average guys think, but when a high value man speak, suddenly it's all ears. So be honest, it's men's opinion you ignore or just the ones who don't fit your standards. He's telling us our opinions on things. He's telling us our truth. Why even engage with these people? Because they don't listen to women anyway. This woman says, just the men I respect, and just because a man doesn't meet my standards does not mean that I don't respect them. Everything ain't for everybody. I came into the post to give them another picture. I said, take this picture and use it when necessary. And it says, and now we have a man. We will return after a brief mansplanation. And then some woman saved it. So you go ahead, take a screenshot, save this, use it where necessary. AntiTrump Amber says, my 20s were very male-centered. Something broke in me in my mid to late 30s, and I realized all that power was in me. All the potential I saw in them, I had been projecting and giving my energy to them. Stop that and watch my life get so effing happy. So nope, never, ever again. Bohemian Rose says, around 38 for me. Just stop caring about what they thought. And then AntiTrump Amber says, other people's opinions are such a waste of energy to carry. Once you become unbothered about people's opinions, good or bad, something shifts and you move how you want to move based on what you want to do. You're not dressing for other people. You're not behaving for other people. You're not speaking, to get acceptance from other people. You're literally just living in your truth. And you've got to know and understand that many of the behaviors that we do, especially as young people, is to get that validation from men. Once you know this, once you can see it, it really does change the way you move in your life. I did find a woman that cares. This is Mother Maggie. She says, I care about their mental health, period. And then Florida Breed Marcus is like, yes. Someone who cares, because these comments from women, boy, I tell you, I think that the men are like, wow, they are getting confused that so many women have such apathy towards them. They haven't been hearing us, so women are checking out completely. And I think that it is coming as a shock. Mother says, yeah, some of these comments are unnecessary. And here's the dude again. But let a guy say some females don't like on here. They trying to, I don't know what this means, but okay. But she cares and he's relieved that someone cares. All right, last two comments from this post. Where the Flowers Grow says, in some instances, I care for men's opinions, but honestly not when it comes to women. I think men skip the whole cause and effect thing when it comes to women's behavior. I don't think that's a pass for women to be trash, but when it's not hard to attract flies. I don't know who she's talking about is attracting flies, but okay, that's what she says. And I wanted to get to this one, Miss Bodie, I guess, or Miss Bodie. She says, hell nah. My therapist asked if I would be open to a group therapy session. And I said, only with a man, because I don't care what they think or feel about me. And I thought that was funny. She wants a therapist that's a man because she doesn't care. Let me know what you think about all of this. How are you with their opinions? Do you care? Do you not care? Please chime in. Oh, don't forget to like, comment, and share. I'm aiming to get to 80,000 subscribers over on YouTube. So go ahead and smash the follow button.
Every day on this app, a man calls me fat. And I don't care. And I stopped caring in my 20s. And I'm going to tell you the reason why you shouldn't care either. In my 20s, I was dating a guy who was a soldier. He had been stationed overseas. He had an extensive corn collection. And so one day we were over there and he was like, why don't you taste some of my corn? And I was like, I'm not really into that, but you know, whatever. And his corn was seasoned with all kinds of animals. So there was chicken corn, there was goat corn, there was cow corn, there was all kinds of corn, okay? And it was in that moment that I realized that men will put their Johnson in anything. Oh, there was also some corn that was just hole in the wall corn. I think that, like, I literally think it was hole in the wall corn, where it was just a hole in the wall and they put Mr. Johnson in a hole. That was when I decided that I do not care what men think, because those same men that are calling me fat are probably fantasizing about a pig right now.